What is good, YouTube? Is Aaron back here with the channel, and today we're going to be doing another gameplay review. This time it's post-burst protocol, post-banless. We've got Rehan back. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good. I'm excited. We finally have a ban list and we actually have a purpose to test now.
Yeah, it's been really nice. I was on a break, and now we're going to get back into it. So this is, I think, my first match of Yu-Gi-Oh! Since, like, December, so pretty excited to hop back into the streets. I'm playing Vanquishable, so the deck that I had the most recent success with and enjoyed playing. Rehan over here on Radiant Typhoon. What are your early thoughts on this deck, sir?
I actually really like it. It's such a fun play style. You have like a decent number of starters, a lot of good two-card combos. I think what I really enjoy about this deck is that it plays very differently to what, everything else that we have in the format. Reliant, a lot more so on its like quick plays and control style rather than like kind of like, explosive combos that we've seen recently with like Yummy Mitsu, Christian Canine decks like that, or kind of like the hybrid variants of like branded Draco Tail and things like that. So it's a very cool playstyle. It's also like new toy syndrome. The cards are new, they're fun to play with. So yeah, that's what I've been testing.
Nice. And yeah, obviously, I am more. I think the Vanquishable deck, when it is not like defined by Canine, is also a pretty interactive deck. Like the Nats format deck, obviously, Holy Sue is very strong, but that kind of brought it in line with the rest of the format. Once the Canine cards got introduced, that's where things I think got it kind of off the rails. So we're gonna kind of see how this deck kind of plays out. If it's more Vanquishable in plus Canine, then I think it's gonna be a pretty like it could be a really like solid, interesting meta where there's a lot of back and forth with Vanquishable and Draco Tail and Radiant Typhoon, but there's always a chance that like someone just finds some ignorance and the format gets ruined. So we're gonna try and be optimistic. I'm looking forward to the format. I think it's got a solid starting point. And yeah, we're just gonna hop right into it. This is a match we played yesterday that Rahan wanted to go over because it was actually a pretty interesting game. I'm playing Vanquish Soul. Well, we can do a different video going over a list if that's something y'all are interested in. But yeah, so Vanquish Soul. I get when the die roll go first. I have Stake Your Soul, Long Case, Mag Fua, and he is playing a deck that has no hand traps. I think you're maybe playing Fuas in the main, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, like the deck is very much more so reliant on like quick play spells, so you can't have a lot of hand traps because you do need quick play spells in the deck. So it kind of like has this weird niche of like being a breaker deck while still being able to like incorporate like a few hand traps. So I think right now I'm playing a max of 6 actual hand traps.
I think you definitely want to like your deck does have a pretty low ceiling in terms of its end board. It does it very consistently, so you definitely want to have non-engine to back it up. I'm just gonna like play through this. We'll go over the end board at the end. Most of us have seen a Vanquishable Canine turn played out. I play King Kiri now to guarantee that my deck can get back to Holy Sue consistently. IP is a card I was testing. It's probably gonna get cut. I would just this is what we played. I think around like the rules format time, so I was just putting that back in. But yeah, King Kiri guarantees I can get back to Holy Sue, get back to my one Jokel, stuff like that. I get to end on like a pretty robust end board for the Vanquishal. Obviously no
Right.
Saryuja or like anything like that, but pretty
I
strong end
can't.
board for all things considered. We have like 5 cards in hands, Magnamut, and I have Fua as well. He knows everything. Alrighty, so Rahan, I skipped a step already, but you lead with Vision, so can give us kind of the breakdown of why or how you kind of approach this turn from the Radiant Typhoon side.
So you actually don't realize how many cards in like the current format say during your main phase or during the main phase until you actually start playing with Radiant Typhoon. And people just can't interact. Like you actually just cannot activate anything. So right now, on Aaron's board, we see the Nash Knight, the IP, the Rock, and the Ripper. And in his hand, we have Holy Sue. Um, yeah, so Holy Sue is like the known like, and I guess the Mag as well, are like kind of like the known bodies that can get onto the field. And I believe in Grave you have Lupus, if I'm not mistaken, or if it's
I believe so,
potentially.
yeah. It's on a loop, yeah. If a Lupus starts on the net.
Yeah. So from these cards, like outside of Ripper and like I guess like the Mag, everything else is a main phase only. So what I'm thinking here is, okay, I can piece apart this board because I have a really strong engine hand by playing in the main phase. And I think that's one of the really strong aspects of Radiant Typhoon. In a lot of my games now, I know initially, you see a deck that can search, so your automatic response is to play Jordan Lockbird. But Radiant Typhoon is interesting in the fact that a lot of the hands can still just high roll you by being able to play in the draw phase, do multiple searches, whether they're going first or second, and make it so that your draw actually just doesn't get any value. So after a substantial amount of games, I've actually just cut Droll from my deck list because it's like, okay, well, I expect Radiant Typhoon to be amongst the top 3 decks of the format. It's not good against Dracotail, it's not good against Raging Typhoon. What am I really playing Droll for? But people are still playing Droll. So I want to play the draw phase, and I want to be able to dodge these main phase effects as much as possible. So I believe I add MST first because I have another Radiant Typhoon, the same one in
Vision.
hand, I believe Vision. So one of the most like stock standard plays in this deck is to always try to chain block, your cards by by self popping them with MST. Now, that's not a very uncommon play, but I think sometimes people kind of missequence how their chain links are actually going to resolve. So right here, I go ahead and add MST, which allows my Crocea to trigger. Now, when my Crocea triggers, I believe I activate another quick play spell. Okay, so I've
Is
added.
lagging. All right, so yeah, he goes
Oh, sorry.
Vision, Vision Chain,
So I'm
MST.
I'm drawing two here also because I have an Extrav in my hand. So Extrav, unlike Prosperity, allows you to still draw as long as you can't draw after you resolve the card. And I know main phase one, I'm going to try to get more cards in my hand, so that I can see other cards like droplets and fallen virtuous cards like that can help piece apart the end board. So I'm trying to draw cards right now, um, and I'm going to use MST on my own spell and trap so that when my Crocea hits the field, Crocea can be chain link 1, and then the effect of Vision and Grave can be chain link 2 to help chain block the effect over here. Um, Actually, no. I couldn't do that. So what I realized here was I actually need to beat the Ripper. So I think in this circumstance, I go effect to draw. I don't think I used Crusade here.
You did
I go
not know. Yeah,
effect to
you chain
draw.
block it in the next same chain. Yeah,
Yeah, I chainblock in the next chain because I actually need to beat the Ripper. The Ripper
yeah,
is the only thing that's currently live, and I need to beat that.
yeah. So in this
So,
sequence, you go Crocea 1 and then Vision 2 to chain block it there.
yep. So
I
this
think I
was
remember I was just saying there's one spot where I think you take it back, and I think this is it because
I completely forgot. I was so like kind of engrossed in making sure I did the chain link right that I completely forgot that I still had Super Poly in hand. And we're going to go ahead and Super Poly away two darks that are on the field. But the issue is I did Crocea, and so Crocea locks me into just wins after I summon it.
yeah. So
So
you
I
do
go
the
back
Super
to
Poly
it.
as a chain link 3 prior to this whole.
Yeah,
So it's
so
whatever.
it'll be chain link one
Curcio
Crocea.
1, Vision 2, and then Super Poly 3 before you.
And it's nice over here that I can discard the Phonics because Phonics can come back when I use another MST.
Mhm.
So it won't be a dead resource or a resource gone. Yeah, so I go ahead and we chain block here, playing around the Ripper. And I'm gonna pause over here. So one of the things I really like to do is grab Vibrant Vortex in the draw phase, especially when going first, because it turns off so many cards in the game right now, whether it be like Ash, 5 mana especially, along with Izuna as well. So that's one of the things that I've been doing a lot. It's just trying to emphasize being able to get to Vibrant Vortex as early as possible, especially in the draw phase, because then you're feeling a lot more safer in your plays because you're insulated from a lot of cards in the format. Um, so that's what I'm thinking over here. The other thing over here also is I can go ahead and use the MST to actually remove another card from the field, and then I'll also get the Ponix back in rotation, allowing me to shuffle away both the Ripper and the Nash Knight.
This deck is. I want to say annoying, but like kind of is right. Where like I just had like this pretty robust end board. And I'm like, okay, I've got a lot of stuff, and I got a lot of cards in hand, and I just can't do jack shit to all of it. Like you're just able to super poly, which I can't respond to, and draw phase all these cards, which I can't do anything about. So you start
Yep,
playing a
and
draw phase, so you get the chant you get for Eldom, and you're starting your main phase with 4 bodies on board, and you wiped my entire field. So that has to feel pretty good from the opposite perspective. So yeah, we get to main phase. You have Eldom and Pot of Extrav, which I think you end up managing something impactful. Well, we get Mandate, Vision, both 2 cards that are effectively dead in this situation.
yes.
Um, we have Eldom, which can get I think it's the one that searches a spell and trap, right?
No, this one searches a monster.
So you can get a we'll remember these names eventually. You get Eldom for Swin, and here you have a couple different options. You threaten battle phase here. We're in voice call, so I'm just like kind of narrating. So you threaten battle phase. This is game on board. And I have a couple different options. I've got Mag, I've got Holy Sue, and I've got Lupus Engrave. And I choose to Holy Sue here because this guarantees that everything else kind of resolves. Obviously, losing it, putting in grave is inconvenient, but to my knowledge, this deck can't really banish from grave, so I'm not super concerned with the long term of getting it back. And also, from my perspective, like I'm playing Vanquishal, I have a lot of cards in hand. If I survive the turn, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna win the game, so I'm not like too stressed about it. Um, if I go Holy Sue, you have two MSTs in grave, so it turns Vortex into a Omni that also destroys. Um, so we go Holy Sue, and then here we go Xiaolong. And Xiaolong was surprisingly difficult for his deck to out, especially without Mandate. He only has one monster that attacks over it, and Xiaolong can just put in defense mode, which is really nice because Xiaolong doesn't target, so it plays around the Mud Dragon. Um, so here he links off two. He links off the Vibrant Vortex, which has two summoning conditions, one from hand and one from grave, so we can summon this one back in the same turn as well. So it goes here, adds an MST. I think he like set Mandate, yeah, pop it with MST to try and get it on board. And this is one of like the small situations where we recognize that he illegally activates vision. He's used both effects to search and to add, or search and draw. Sorry. So he goes whatever mandate set, vortex, but he summons or activates the mandate here, and we come to the not the conclusion, but like we kind of recognize that like extract does conflict with mandate. It did also conflict with not conflict, but like it kind of made his extract a little bit awkward. I think you banished like the Doom Eagle, which would have
Yeah,
been able to apply a little bit
big
more pressure.
issue.
So
Yeah, that
like
was a big because I wasn't able to get more damage on the field, but and I also wasn't able to check Lupus simultaneously.
yeah. So like there are big benefits to extra having this deck. Like you just want more cards. Like you just make sure you have a lot of non-engine. But like there are definitely drawbacks to it. There's also drawbacks to not playing it. Like this deck does have a bit of a consistency issue. So just things to keep in mind whenever you're deck building with this. So we've got Xiaolong on board. Rehan, you unfortunately didn't play out all of the different lines you were considering. So give me a little bit of your breakdown of how you're going to try and end the game this turn because you recognize you kind of have to kill me here to win the game.
Exactly. So I recognize the fact that I had to kill you. So with Doom Eagle gone, the issue was I needed to put in like more damage while also being able to check the Lupus because I know you had the Mag. Now what I was really considering was forcing out the Caesar Valius um, by using the effect of the Link 2, and then putting your Jiaolong in the spell and trapguard zone. But effectively, that would have done nothing because you would have just tagged out the Caesar Valius. Though in hindsight, perhaps that was still the correct play because you get a 5 off the field. So effectively, your Lupus perhaps like has less of an impact on the field because as we'll see in like the end phase, I'm just not able to clear anything, and I try to play like a control game with like all my bodies and the trap. But like effectively, you can't do that against VS, especially like if they have as many cards as Aaron did, and the fact that you also have the field spell up. So I considered that, and I think at the end of it, I just went into the Link 4, hoping that that kind of gets me there in terms of the cards that I get. Yeah, and go
Yeah.
ahead
So
and add
you
MST.
yeah, MST, you are able to out the start with this, but still unfortunate not enough. So you choose to enter battle phase. In this position, you tried to mandate, and then we read the card. You're like, oh, you have to use both of the effects. It's
Yeah,
not
it
optional,
requires,
and you can't
yeah,
draw
it
because you're in
requires
range trap.
both. Yeah,
Yeah.
and
So
it's
here
in
we Jalong
sequence.
put the guy in defense. I think you end up going back and committing to out. Yeah, you out the start. Um,
Yeah.
then I mag. I think it's just like a safety precaution. Like I don't think there's any reason for me to actually do it, but I was kind of
Well,
unfamiliar with what your deck did.
it was relevant there, right? Because you magged, and then
Oh,
that
wait, oh,
prevented
chain
me.
blocks, right? Yeah, the mandate. That's
And
what it was. Yeah. I remember. Yeah, Mandate has to respond directly to MST, so by magging, I was able to play around it. Xiaolong was able to resolve and put that. Okay, now we're back on the swing of things. So here, yeah, you go for ulti Retiari, whatever, however you say it. And I go Lupus on main phase 2. I'm just gonna like make a Valon or a Nash. I don't remember. I made Nash because he shuffled it back. And even if he outs it from there, like I just check his entire board and have Rosin. So game 2
yeah,
we
so
go.
I think that was a really good showcase um of like this deck, this matchup actually, because while you were able to like establish a board, and I broke it. Like I broke the entire board. But the issue is you can't deal with the follow-up. And I think that's like a consistent theme going into Burst Protocol format, is a lot of these decks have substantial follow-up. So while you'll be able to break some of the boards, right, you can break a Jerkatil board, right? Like there you can play through the traps, you maybe even be able to play through a 5 mana, but it's like, okay, can you play through all that while also establishing either your field or giving, game that turn? Because if you can't, then there's so much follow-up in every single one of these decks, whether it be VS Canine, Radiant Typhoon, the Draco Tail variants, I genuinely don't think like you're lasting, the pass back. And I think that's a consistent issue, or not, I don't know if issue is the right word, but a consistent theme that I've found in Burst Protocol format. So potentially, like, hand traps may still reign supreme because if you're able to cut off your opponent from playing, then you may still have like a really good shot of just winning the game outright.
Yeah, and I think I would align that with if that is the like the approach to the format we view as ideal. I think Radiant Typhoon does fall out of like the perceived like top 2 or 3 best decks down a little bit because the deck does kind of require quick play spells and breakers to really like resolve its gameplay consistently. Um, so game two, going first, Fallen of Virtuous, Elation, Eldum, Droplet, Ash. So he has exactly one play, and I have exactly no interrupts. So he's gonna end up doing whatever he wants here. Um, Eldum for Swen for Chance. I don't know. You can kind of break down the going first. If you want to watch going first combos, I'm pretty sure you can figure that out like everywhere
Yeah, it's
else.
just it's just pretty
I want to
standard.
yeah, I want to like use this to like give like our thoughts on how we're playing the deck. The going first lines I think are pretty accessible everywhere else. Don't want to spend too much time on it. So you go for a mandate, you get MST, you go elation, you make hollow. This is and he's doing this line to play around whatever like you're chain blocking Mech Hollow I think with this sequencing right. Elation 2 and Mech Hollow 1. Um, and one thing you
Um,
did bring up was I think you were able to sequence this in a way that Bell was. You were able to chain block the Crocia as well, if I remember correctly, right?
yes. I forget what it was exactly, but I think I'm gonna actually do it to play. I think I realized the fact that I can chain block against the bell, and then we go
You don't
back.
do it this game. Maybe in the next one, but in this, like, I do actually bell you. I looked away and I was like, wait. Um,
Oh, right, right. Okay, so this one we got belled.
but
Okay,
Fallen of
so
Virtuous, which is a free send, which is really nice for you. You get a free draw. You get to reset it. You draw a draw because you're the goat. And this game is unfortunately rather uninteresting. I draw 3 of the same attribute in Azuna, which was not live. Take your soul, and he has whatever MST to negate, and Stake Your Soul or to negate my Sacred Soul, and I have like bodies that don't do anything. So this and also like droll on top of it. So this game is pretty not super interesting, but game three I think is a way more interesting match or game to watch. You're sequencing here. You want to break it down real quick because you were like kind of change it up. Why did you choose to do it this way?
so I chose to do it that way because it's like, okay, why would I want to pop your a card when I can go ahead and pop my own elation so that I have guaranteed follow up for the next turn, but also I can get guaranteed follow up in terms of getting Corsair back on the field. And if I pop the elation, then I can just chain block Corsair, right? Because then it'll be Megalo 1, Corsair 2, and elation 3. Yeah, so like just like that. So go ahead, chain
Yeah,
block everything. Then I get
yeah.
the
And you
negate on
also
the
have
field
Vibrant
and
Vortex to uh,
exactly.
protect Corrosia if you need to. So that is how that all plays out. I can't play through like a singular MST, much less where else he has. So very much a blowout. This is definitely the issue with the Vanquishable deck. Like some of you have to get off the ground for it to work. And against decks like Draco Tail, if they end on a full board, or even like Radiant Typhoon, like you saw, like it's not there's no guarantee that you're able to actually push through all of the end board pieces with just engine. So that's something to definitely be mindful of if you're playing.
I think this game
So
was really interesting.
yeah, so this is the game that I want to review like the most. Because I spent a lot of time tanking. We were on a call with a few different people, and I was unable to figure out exactly what I wanted to do. So I get standby Prelude, which is really inconvenient. I have a couple different options here. I can normal Leroy. I can Stake Your Soul. I think Stake Your Soul is just the best because it checks for Ash. And or like it plays the best into I think Fua was probably my main idea. Like yeah, because if I Leroy get Fua, like you're just getting whatever infinite draws, and I'm not very happy. So if I can Stake Your Soul, Raza, and Holy Sue, and maybe pass, maybe like a rock, that'd be ideal. But you obviously have Ash, so now we have to commit into the Wallace with normal summon Roy. The other argument actually is a normal summon Madlove here, which I think in hindsight was actually correct. Um, like I lose to another hand trap, but your deck doesn't really play hand traps. Um, so
Yeah.
going Mad Love, adding start. I have the trap in my deck post side. I'm not actually maining it right now, so I go Mad Love for start, add Holy Sue, rock, and then from there I can summon from deck. Off of the Holy Sue, I can make a rank 5. I have a couple different options. The Noroi obviously is the more guaranteed immediate play, but as we saw game one, like the K9 end board literally did nothing to his deck. Um, Especially if my goal is like, and on force release and do all these things, like he just has MST in the draw phase very consistently. So I think I should have been more committing. I should have committed way harder into the Vanquishable part of the deck, compared to the Canine part, because that engine, like as I saw, like I'm still learning this game, learning how Rain Typhoon plays. Like I should have been more cognizant of the fact that that part of the engine just doesn't do anything into Rain.
Yeah, I think
So
what you
I
really also
sorry.
realize is the fact that the deck also kind of struggles to kill at times. So if you have like the substantial layered follow-up that the VS engine provides you, I think it's much more valuable than the canine portion, because the canine portion kind of takes your resources and puts it into like Xyz materials and things like that. So when you're actually clearing it, whether it be like via bounces or via shuffles, you're just getting more value out of them because you're actually removing the bodies entirely.
Yeah, I think the other thing that I valued in this situation is like, oh, I get to Noroi look at hand and decide what I get to do, because I only give you one draw to do that. But what I didn't really consider was like, oh, if your hand's already good, like I can't really make my end board substantially better without giving you like more draws, which is what we're gonna end up seeing. Or I go for Jokul and I'm like, okay, I add case, and I choose to look at hand and I see this hand of four engine pieces, and I'm like, okay, I have to give you cards here because like me ending on Ripper is not gonna do anything here. Um, and to be fair to me, if he just goes, if I just like see those three monsters on board and no chant, I'm more likely to just like play it out, and just like let it rock. And I think I can't guarantee that I survive, but I think I'm more likely to survive through just the three monsters than I am once I see Chant. He has access to MST and just like way more interaction, especially in the main phase where like my vanquishable cards can potentially be live. Um, Once I see this hand, I'm like, okay, I have to give you cards to like have a chance. So I go Jokul, Jiaolong, start tanking on this. You draw Fuwalls, which is like also extremely inconvenient. And this is a spot where I have to Ripper this because like we saw, like I have to keep playing. And this list only played one Ripper. I think that's a mistake in hindsight. In my head, I was like, okay, this is more Vanquishable than K9. I wasn't maining. I don't think I was maining Force Release. I don't remember exactly. But like, let's say I don't main Force Release. Like, how often am I gonna make two Rippers at all? Because there's only one Joko, right? Like, there's only one Lance, and you're gonna go through the entire engine turn one most of the time. But I think it's probably still just worth it to play two, like, or just right now. Very good against Draco Tail, which is a deck that be playing against a lot. So definitely worth the inclusion as probably a duplicate. I go for Rock. And here I choose to special from hand. Again, like my goal is I see to get like more bodies, more cards in rotation. Starts to add Holy Sue, which I'm not sure this was correct. Like I truly I think if I just normal Mad Love, my turn is like substantially better. You get to the Fua at some point, and I can't stop it, but like I just have a more robust end board. I get Holy Soon rotation, I guarantee to have fires. And I think that makes this board way harder to crack. Because as you see, like you just keep drawing cards, and then my next action is like Borger try to draw a fire, because that's the only way for me to like actually do something impactful. And you're gonna see me like they keep taking plays back because I realize like every rank 5 that I make here with the Cannon Engine doesn't do anything to you. I have Nash Knight, I've got whatever else I had, like Valon, like all of these cards just do nothing. Like a few of the lines that I considered involve linking off Reaper for an IP and an SP, and I'm like, okay, what does this do? Nothing. Like the my end board doesn't really interact with Rain Typhoon. I don't have it like on field monster negates. Maybe I could have committed to like a 104, but like that doesn't seem optimal in my head. Um, so maybe I'm supposed to like Nash Knight for 104 and just like negate, but like again, he has like three names in hand, right? Like, how am I gonna actually stop his deck from playing the game? And I couldn't find a way to do it. So my plan was okay. I'm just gonna Borger and try and draw some good cards. I draw another Dark, which is obviously neat, but like grand scheme of things doesn't fix anything. And my goal here is to set Snow Devil and just be like, okay, you now have to have enough MSTs. You have to start popping my stuff, and like you can't just like pop all your stuff for free. Like you actually have to like lose cards to play. Um, Fortunately, it doesn't end up working for me because you just draw another MST and you have a lot of cards. And Rehan, you can kind of take it from here as to like how you ended up breaking everything.
Yeah, so in this position, um, I'm actually really happy like that I was able to draw an MST because that meant like my chant was able to either get another MST or get another body. So that was really good. Um, I think I start with an MST and draw phase. I don't know actually if I chain block this one. Let's see.
Leave Vision to draw two. I mean, you've got so many bodies and names that you can kind of do whatever, so it makes sense. Go Fua. You add
Yeah, I
Fua,
think
sorry, or draw Fua
yeah,
off of that plus another droplet. And that card ends up being very impactful on this turn, which is annoying for me, but I think a lot of
yeah, I
different
drew.
cards did something similar. Like that, Fallen and Virtuous, like there were a lot of good draws for you here.
I think I chain block. I use flood.
Crocia off of this. I obviously don't have Ripper Life, so you don't have to worry about chain blocking anything. Um, you theoretically could try to like play around Bell or Ash. I'm kind of surprised that you don't. Okay, do you have any thoughts on that?
Um, I think I know a lot of the cards in your hand already, right? Because you search Sue.
So you know Holy Sue, Mad Love. I don't. You probably know Azuna if I had to guess. And there's
No,
one unknown obviously from the board.
I don't think I know Izuna, unless you searched it. Yeah, I don't think I chain block here.
Dash Azuna, added Azuna, so you know I have Azuna.
So I know Izuna. So there's only one unknown in hand, and I kind of needed to play aggressively here. I think. I think I do chain block this actually. I
There you
forget.
go. Add
Yeah,
MST.
yeah, I do
Pop.
chain.
Yeah, I think chain blocking is probably ideal.
Yeah, it's just the safest play.
Crocia, and then we create a chain block. And yeah, you get to add MST from graveyard, from deck. Like you just kind of have whatever you want here.
Yeah, I think over
Two
here
MSTs,
I
two droplets, and Swen. Like in theory, like you'd be like, oh, his hand is kind of like low to the ground, low impact, whatever. But you're kind of about to see like what this deck can do on its own. Oh, sorry, he has another body, but still, like, you would look at this hand and like, this seems underwhelming, but like, he's actually gonna provide a lot of pressure. In fairness to me, my deck doesn't have too much it can do here. Like if this is three trap, like a reveal for three, like that probably helps a little bit. But probably not enough to like win me the game, honestly. So we reveal two, we get MST'd. He goes Phonics. This card is pretty solid. He pops. He goes Phonics to shuffle. And you do Xiaolong Borger in draw phase, which makes sense.
yes.
Sorry, you do Xiaolong Borger. Decided that it should be Rock instead of the Borger because I've already
And
Borger
then
effect. Cutting off Rock is
I,
just probably better
I,
overall. And then in this situation, I remember that my card Kinkiri has an effect. So we actually go back, and it should end up being it ends up being Rock Kinkiri. So just making it clear that it's Rock Kinkiri that gets shuffled back. We leave the Xiaolong in the Borger. So from my perspective, that's pretty solid. I get to bounce back to Xiaolong. I get to have all three attributes in my hand, but unfortunately, Trap's already gone. And it's probably not going to make too big of a difference in the grand scheme. Um, so we are here. We have Crocia and Phonics. Let us know how you're going to play this out.
honestly, I forget how I play this out.
are,
Um,
are you
I
looking at this position brand new? What would you do here?
good question. I think if we're in this position now, I think I should just make the link because then I just get an MST and then I have my droplets live again.
Mm.
So that if I have to use droplet, then that's a free spell that allows me to get into mandate. So I think the correct play probably is to make the link because my Ponics can also just come back,
Mm.
which is important.
You go Swen
But
first, add Eldom.
I didn't go
I
for
think
that.
you
I
link
just
that
go.
off plus the Phonics. Hmm.
I skipped a step, so that's why I just sent the chant to grave because chant is supposed to
To add
search.
Eldom, and then yeah, Eldom adds Rune. Yeah. Vibrant Vortex. And you choose these two to link it off. I'm gonna assume there's a good reason for that. Crocia is just a bigger body. I assume it's probably one of the bigger.
Yeah, and then Ponics comes back when I use an MST.
Yeah. Phonics would always be the one that's linked off here. Crocia is just like a bigger body, and you know my hand. There's not too much I can do from this perspective.
I think
maybe
it's
I'm
also a bit
supposed to like try and. I'm sorry.
new because I think it's also a bit awkward for you here, right? Because you're able to summon out the Holly Sue, but if you summon out the Holly Sue, it means you can't also summon out like an Izuna, or the Lupus.
Yeah.
Like
I
I guess
think
you can.
I think I sequence this maybe a little poorly. Like, so in my head, I can fully sue from deck, um, but I have to like border first. But I think maybe what I'm supposed to try and do is like Lupus first, check for some kind of interaction, and then if that gets stopped, then I can Holy Sue. But the issue with that then is like now my board is clogged. Like I can't summon from deck, I can't take either. So maybe I'm supposed to Holy Sue first, which I think is what ends up happening. So I go Borger to Xiaolong to get that to hand. Go MST add. Um, and here I'm trying to be proactive. I don't remember exactly which one I'm trying to do. I may be trying to take. Um, because maybe getting to Rosin, probably getting to Rosin's better, right? I can just like pop this, get to Laser Valley, I have more interrupts. I'm trying to chain, or does this one have to quick play spells activated? So this one does not get chain blocked. But I think I realize that mandate is coming, and I need to be a little bit more active with my plays. Because if not, you're just gonna be able to negate whatever I start doing. Um, I go Zhao or Holy Su here, Zhao Mad Love. I get dropleted by sending MST. Put that in attack mode, and then from here, oh, this is the other reason. I forgot you hadn't used Varun yet. So I have to do this before Varun touches down, and because once this hits, like I can't Lupus anymore. So from this perspective, like I have really no more interrupts. I could summon the Lupus just to like get a body on board, but it doesn't really fix anything. I'm just gonna lose the resource, and you get to mandate draw. Your bodies are now bigger, so you can swing over everything. Kind of all falls apart for me here. The Holy Suit, which is obviously nice. I can technically get back to this by popping with Caesar Values, but that's an unrealistic expectation from this game state. You make the Eagle, which was not banished off extra this game. You get to get rid of my Lupus, which is nice for you. Um, maybe in retrospect, I'm supposed to summon this a little early, or try and summon this earlier. Maybe beta the Varun, the Vibrant Vortex effect. Like, you may use it, you may not. But I may like actually start my turn with a body on board. But in this situation, I just like have nothing. So maybe there's a small chance at something, but we're not in the best position.
In this position, I think one of the things that perhaps you missed was, do you use the Izuna there at the end of main phase 2?
You had not used Vibrant Vortex yet, so that's the argument for using Lupus, right? Is I can force that out earlier, so like my Izuna later actually gets this. Yeah, because like as played, I can't use Izuna and try to win the game, or like it's just gonna get negated, and I think destroyed because you have two MSTs.
Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah, in this position you have like Phonics, which is a double shuffle on resolution, and then a monster negate and a vanish. So pretty solid effects. And then we know chance, which will trigger Phonics effectively whenever. And then this drop that was unknown. He had it from a
So
while ago.
one of the things I always prioritize when I'm playing Radiant Typhoon is I always try to make sure that I have at least Chant or either Elation set, because those cards are really flexible in terms of helping to trigger some of your effects by activating quick play, but also it's guaranteed follow up on the pass back. Because if you look at my board, I actually don't have good follow up on the pass back, right? Like I have a draw right now from the trap, and I'll have a draw potentially on my turn, but other than that, there's not a lot of good follow-up. And I think that's one of the issues with the Raging Typhoon deck is when you're actually playing the game, going second into someone's board, in order to piece apart boards and establish some of your own boards, you want to be able to keep cards like Varun and Ponix on the field. But that means that you sacrifice follow-up a lot of the times. So one of the really key things I've seen a lot of like Radiant Typhoon players miss is that they'll never have like an engine spell to get them back into engine, right? And so chat's really important here because if I want, for example, if my draw off the trap is an engine card, then my chat can just get me MST to remove whatever card I want from your field, and then re summon like either Ponix or Varun in the draw phase again. So I think that's one of the things that I've seen like a lot of Radiant Typhoon players miss, and one of the things that I emphasize. Like at least on my board, like Elation will always be set just because it's so flexible by being able to bring back Crocea, and then Crocea is able to add either Ponix, I mean sorry, not Ponix, Phonix or Varun in your hand to resummon those cards out.
Yes. Very good point. So I lead with elements, and this card adds from grave, which I think is gonna definitely come up more now there's only one Joko, right? So being able to elements, add Joko from grave was nice. There's a consideration to add lantern. I kind of played it out in my head. You do actually need the Joko, um, to like add lantern later, and like in a perfect world we get to resolve both. So the only way that I win this game from here is if Rehan makes a mistake. We go normal summon Mad Love, use the effect on summon without searching, because obviously start and trapper. You reveal Earth Arc.
I consider
He sorry.
I actually considered letting this go initially because I'm like, oh hey, I have a quick play to get card back on field. But if as soon as I like let that go, it just makes things a bit weird if I don't actually negate that, especially because it's a negate and destroy. So if I don't negate and destroy that, that means like you bounce my Varun, and then I actually just need to use the link 4 immediately because I don't want you to go back into rock. So that's why I end up like trying to negate this because it's a negate and destroy. I don't use it with my Varun, but I already know you have Izuna in hand, you have Jokul in hand, and I know you have Jolong in hand. So my
Yeah.
goal is okay, I'm going to make sure that I never have to actually use an effect in hand. And that was one of the other considerations is because I know you have an Izuna in your hand, um, I don't want to use the Varun effect in hand, making your Izuna live, and then allowing you to play from there. So I just want to make sure that how like I limit the number of starters that you actually have right now.
Makes sense. And here you could technically also like yeah, because like the other line that most people would probably do in this situation is use the link monster on Mad Love. And then when I try to Caesar, you would negate with Vibrant Vortex, which in here in your head probably makes the most sense. But the way you explained it, like okay, in that situation, if he's able to expend like right, I go Joko in the Xiaolong, and then you have to like use your resources to do something, um, either like chant into summon or like droplet negate. But if you ever try to summon Phonics back, then I can use Azuna and I get like even more resources. So I think that is well observed by you. And then you get to mandate draw off of this. Let's turn
Okay,
MSTs back.
so now at this point, I know every single card in your hand, because you revealed the Caesar Valius to bring it back. And now you summon out the Jiaolong, which I don't think I actually care about
Yeah, he doesn't do
because of the
anything.
drop. Use
Yeah, I
that.
go
I use drop.
droplets. Yeah, because I know that at the like I needed this quick play spell to be, or I needed this to be like an MST or something. I don't remember. I think it needed to be something that was dead, which is in all actuality like extremely unlikely. Um, but like that was my win con was like this is dead. Um, and then I don't really know. Like I think it's pretty impossible for me to win, but like I would try and get into a grind game where I would like summon Jogel and Azuna. Um, and you shuffle these back, and I'm like, okay, on my turn I can, or on his turn I can like maybe try and stay alive with Mango still plays, but it's pretty much just like over at that point. Like, there's not much to do from here. So that's something to be mindful with as with the Vanquish deck as well, right? Like Holy Sue's gone, I can't add it back. I don't have access to it at all. So that was another reason why on this turn 0, I should have prioritized the Vanquish Fold plays. Got Rosin in rotation, like even though like it's at 3 now, like you still need to get it there. Holy Sue's not always guaranteed to search it. If I do that play, like I may have given him like another draw or two. The turns obviously plays out very differently, but I think the Vanquishful engine into Radiant Typhoon is substantially more difficult for it to handle compared to K9, like we saw where in game one he just like super polyed and like took my whole entire board away. And when you have cards in hand and it's harder for it all to interact, I think that was definitely the correct line in hindsight. So that is, I think, an interesting match for like one of my first games of the format. Like I think it was played like relatively well, all things considered, from both ends. Obviously, we did some take backs, but that's just part testing. Hopefully, we were able to like
Mhm.
convey the thought processes that we were able to try and that we were thinking as we were trying to play the game out. Any final thoughts, Rahan?
No, I think that was like actually one of the more enjoyable games I've played recently. It's actually really fun when you get to play with like decks like this that can just crack into each other with engine. Um, but yeah, I think I really do enjoy the Reading Typhoon deck, especially with more engine. There's actually thoughts of just cutting the X drive because as we saw in game one, the X drive is part like it's anecdotal, but the X drive is kind of like how I lost or perhaps wasn't able to game. It's still difficult to say because you had the mag, you had the lupus. So it's difficult to say if I was even able to game there. But the Xtrav does make some things awkward, especially for example if you want to play Super Poly next format, right? It makes things like that awkward. And one of the other things I actually really like in this deck is potentially increasing some of the more engine count. So depending on how the format shapes up, for example, if people start maining Prulia, then that's really bad against the deck. So then that brings up a conversation of okay, do you want more Magala? For anybody that doesn't know, Magala is a yellow one that summons from deck. So being able to beat Prulia potentially that way by special summoning Magala, summoning from deck, being able to make the link too, and now you kind of did your whole combo by only giving your opponent one draw. And I think having options like that within your engine is impressive. Other considerations are being able to play like the Foolish Burial spell, because that is still an MST, and you do need like a certain number of Reading Typhoon spells in this deck that can act as MSTs or just be activated in like a blank game state to be able to trigger your cards. But like I think I really like that card because if anything, the game here showed how good it is to be able to play in the draw phase because you just dodge so many cards that are typically just activatable in the draw phase. So for example, if you're able to get like Ponix or Varun on the field, then as the Radiant Typhoon player, you're just so much better positioned going into a board or against a board or even building a board. And I think this deck still has like some crafting space left. I think mostly it's solved, but I think there's still likely some innovation in terms of deck list to come.
Yeah, like there's probably like I mean I've kind of like been glancing a little bit over the internet. there's a lot of like quick play spells and like fuas, and I think there's definitely some rooms to kind of experiment. Like, oh, like is Forbidden Crown really like super important to the deck's game plan? Like, Extravagant Super Poly probably not the best combination of cards. But we'll kind of see if we're able to convince him off of that. But yeah, like those are all cards that we're testing and I think are good. But we'll kind of see like what combination of all of these cards ends up being the best. So I think that we're gonna wrap it up on that. Let us know any decks that you kind of want to see in the future. We're both gonna be a little bit busy in the weeks coming up to the 300 testing, so I'll try and get either myself and some other guys around. Rehan if he's ever free. But yeah, it was a pleasure doing this, my friend. We'll do this more, and thank y'all for watching. We'll see you in the next one.